In this Tools in 10, I'm going to show you some instructional strategies and activities for teaching the Kind Old Words lesson and show you a sample lesson plan for teaching this skill. The Kind Old Words lesson page is found on page 119, and it's typically taught after the contractions and possessives lesson in the scope and sequence. Now, this is another skill that could be taught earlier to allow your students to be able to read more words that are commonly found in early reading texts. Now, keep in mind that the lessons are cumulative. So whenever I want to teach a skill earlier in the instructional sequence, I carefully examine the words on the lesson page to make sure the skills and the words align with what I have previously taught my students. With that in mind, since Kind Old Words are one-syllable words that end with two-letter consonant blends, I could teach this skill here after teaching mixed consonant blends. Looking at the lesson page, I see that the first three columns contain mostly words that begin with either a single consonant or a two-letter consonant blend. So I could select words from the three columns to use in my word study activities and game. Since I haven't yet taught three-letter blends or the TH sound, I would be sure not to include the words scroll, stroll, and both in my word study activities. I would also not include the words won't and don't because I haven't taught the contractions lesson yet. And additionally, I would also not include words from the last two columns if I haven't taught the suffixes that are included in those words. As a side note, remember you can always circle back around to this page at a later time to teach the more advanced skills when it is right for your students. The teacher note box at the top of the lesson page says I and O are rule breakers in one-syllable words because they make the long sound instead of short. Notice on the page how the words are grouped together by word families. Teaching this skill as word families is very helpful for children to develop pattern recognition. At the bottom of the page, there's a mini strip that children can tap when you first introduce the skill. However, it's not typically needed for most children to tap regularly, but for EL or special education students, it may be necessary. So this is here as an extra scaffold to use as needed, and also when you're first introducing the skill. There are a variety of resources that you can use for word study and gameplay. In your training companion guide, there are two Go Fish game pages that follow the lesson page. You can have students mark the skill for word study and then play Go Fish after. When selecting which game page to use, remember that Go Fish 1 includes simpler words and Go Fish 2 is a little more advanced. Also note that the Go Fish 2 page has been revised, so the word pairs and phrases on each card have the same word family. That again is also going to help with pattern recognition. I'll share a link to a folder that includes the revised Go Fish 2 page and other resources mentioned here. There are also roll and read games for this skill. You can find a variety of roll and reads for every skill in the Brain Friendly Reading program on the We Shall Read website in the shop. However, if you are enrolled in the training, they are all in the shared Google Drive. Now let's take a look at a sample lesson plan that you can use to teach the skill if you are introducing it after teaching the consonant blends mixed lesson. This plan is also included in the shared folder. I will demonstrate how you can introduce this skill starting with number 4 on the lesson plan, and then show you some different word study and gameplay options, and also a phrase work activity. So here I have my lesson plan. What I'm going to do is start with teaching the new skill, so number 4. So I have here in my plan that I and O make the long sound in these words. I'm going to show a couple of examples, and then we're going to tap the chart strip that's on the bottom of page 119. So I would start by saying, today we're going to work with words where the vowel is breaking the rules and not making the sound that it normally would. Let's look at this word here. Now we know when a vowel is closed in by one or more consonant, it makes a closed syllable, and that vowel makes a short sound. So this O should say ah, but it doesn't. It says O, and this word says mold. Let's look at this word. This word, we have an I. This I should say I because it's closed in by two consonants, but it doesn't. It says I. This word is kind, kind, and there's our ending blend there, kind. So all of the words that we will be working with have I and O saying their long sounds instead of their short sounds. And all of our words will have these chunks in them. And we can help our brain to know these patterns by tapping this chart. I'm going to tap it first. O-L-D, old, old. And then the child would tap after. O-L-D, old, old. I-N-D, kind, ind. And then have the child tap. O-S-T, ghost, oast. I-L-D, child, ild. O-L-T, bolt, olt. O-L-L, roll, ol. So after you would just do this call and response with the student. And now let's arm tap some words with these chunks. I've introduced the skill, and we're going to just orally arm tap a few words. You can have the chart in front of them. Let's do the word cold, cold. And the student would repeat it, cold. Old. We can put that chunk on our elbow. Old. Let's try the word find. 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 Let's try child. 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 Do you hear how the I is saying its name there? I. Let's try most. Oast. Most. And again, the O, it's saying its name. Now, a student could break it up. They may break up a word. Let's say you are dictating words for sentences. They might break it up as I, and that's okay too. But when you're first teaching it, you can teach it by putting it as a chunk altogether, since we have this little strip here for them to see. So now we're going to do a little word study. And since we're talking about pattern recognition and helping students to develop that pattern recognition with our word study, you could have them highlight the words on the lesson page right here, because on our lesson page, we have the words grouped by word families. So you could have them find those chunks and highlight it. Like all of the words in this list have IND, IND. So they can highlight it and say it. IND, 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 IND. And then they can go through and read the words kind, find, wind, mind, bind. I like to have students mark on game pages, because then it gets them excited about playing a game afterwards. So what I've done is I have made a Kind Old Words game of books. So in this book, all of these words are the same. They're just in a different order. So this is one complete book that they have to collect, and this would be another complete book. So you can have them do the same thing. Highlight and say the chunk, IND, kind, IND, find, IND, wind, IND, mind. Notice how I did that one just a little different. You could have them find all the einds and say eind, and then go back and read, or you can highlight and then read the word, say the sound, and then read it together. And they would keep going and highlighting each chunk. So lesson page they could mark and read, game page they could mark and read. You could also do a roll and read. Roll and read has lots of words. If you wanted them grouped by word families, you could simply take a blank roll and read game page and handwrite the words in. And I've done that a lot when I want to see the same pattern in each row, which really helps with the pattern recognition. So you can do that when you're first teaching kind old words. And then later, if you want to see how fast and how quick and accurate kids can read kind old words when they're not in word families, then you could do a roll and read where they're all mixed up like this to give them that extra practice. So I chose a reading word study activity. You could also choose to arm tap and write words or arm tap and build words. And what you could do is, with that, is have them turn their page over if they're doing a lesson page or any kind of paper. And you could have them write these patterns at the top of their page. Your first word is most. And let's put that on our arm. Most. Which do you hear? Which of these do you hear? Ost. I hear O-S-T, ost. And let's write that word. Ost. Or ost. And you could dictate several words where they have to listen to which of the chunks they hear and then write that in the column that it goes. Next, after we're marking and reading our words, we're going to do a little phrase work now. Arm tap and write. So I have these phrases here, and I just took them off of the lesson page. There's a bunch of them here. Again, I'm making sure I'm picking phrases that have skills that my students have previously been taught. So I want to be really careful about any sounds that maybe I haven't taught them yet. And so these are the phrases that I will dictate for my students to write. Well, we're going to say the phrase, kind old man, and the students are going to repeat that. Kind old man. How many words do you hear? Kind old man. 3. And they can go ahead and they can mark 3 lines. What's the phrase again? Kind old man. What's the first word? Kind. Let's put it on our arm. Kind. Kind. I hear k, and then we hear eind. What says eind? They could have this little chart in front of them if they want, or they can hear those sounds. I hear k, I hear I, and I hear nd. I know ND says nd, so they may not need this at all. Kind what? Kind old man. The next word is old. I hear old. I hear old. Old. Kind old man. All right, last word is man. And you could continue dictating those phrases like that. After dictating your sentences or phrases, you can play your game of books. And game of books is played just like Go Fish, except instead of collecting 2 cards, you have to collect all 4. And the words are in a different order on each card. So it makes it a little bit more challenging. But that just gives you a few ideas on how you can teach kind old words and what kinds of activities that you can do for the word study and gameplay.